Alright, all you fans of books and sci-fi, this is a great one for you. Jim Butcher is a wonderful author who specializes in the Dresden series, the Dresden Files series, I should say. And you may have heard of it on the Sci-Fi Channel. They did take his books and actually put it into a television show. So even those who do enjoy sci-fi but don't enjoy reading, you might want to check that out. Word to the wise, of course, it's never as good as the books, so I'd still highly recommend actually reading these books. Now, a little bit about these books, of course. The actual premise of them is basically the main character, Harry Dresden, as per the name, is the only professional wizard working out of Chicago. And, of course, like many other series, there's a lot of supernatural things that go bump in the night. Harry is the person that bumps back. So he's a bit of a smart aleck, sorry. So he's a bit of a wisecracker. He's very straightforward. He is very funny, but also you get to see the other side of what it's like being a wizard in a world where people don't believe in things like magic or vampires or fairies or anything like that. Now, in this first book, you get to meet the main character, Harry Dresden, and a little bit more about him, his backstory, with, of course, there's always some sort of group, not like a cult, but a group that he has to answer to that also are wizards. So you get to kind of see where he's stuck with them. He gets to interact with law enforcement because, of course, one of the ways that he's going to get business is not just people coming to him with their problems, but when officers find a job that's just too bizarre, very X-Files-like, they're going to have to seek out extra help. So he is a consultant for the police department for Chicago. So you get to really get an inside scoop on how a wizard gets to work in the underbelly of Chicago. What's really great about these books is how realistic it all sounds. He does a wonderful job, Jim Butcher does, of tying unrealistic, supernatural science fiction in with everyday life. Because this is set in a modern era, of course you get, how cars malfunction around wizards because technology these days just doesn't like it. It's that added comedy that he gives to each of the characters and the book itself that really, makes the book series appealing. You also have Jim Butcher's writing style. It's engaging. Paragraphs aren't long, the chapters aren't even long, so if you need to put it down, which I don't know why you would, then you can always do that and have a good stopping point every couple of pages and come back and, be ready to jump back into the book. The story itself is engaging enough that it carries you. It keeps your interest. It keeps you driven to read one more chapter, one more page. This is a very long series. He's always adding books to this series, and they're all about the same length, all about the same character, of course, but you get more and more each book. Another wonderful thing is, as I said, he ties things in together really well. When I first picked up this series, I thought, oh, it's a wizard, it's about magic. That's it. I was wrong. Through the series, he will be adding vampires, other supernatural creatures like a succubus, and you've got, I think, not zombies, but fairies, and other creatures that you've never even conceived before. So if you're a person that really finds it, interesting to follow all these different supernatural entities, usually they're in separate books altogether. Jim Butcher just says, why have boundaries? Let's put them all in. And he mixes them into a perfect story. Even bringing in some religious aspects, which I won't spoil for you, but they're very interesting. He gives a great new perspective on all of these things. Now, the book itself is easy to find in bookstores, and it's not that expensive. but you've got a nice little excerpt on the back. You've got, of course, people comparing this to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and other great series that you may have heard of. All of his titles are pretty easy to memorize. This is his first book, as I said. I think it's kind of funny that almost all of his books have a very specific titling. Most of the books have the same amount of letters in the first and the second word, and they always have 2 words just about. So Stormfront, as you can see, S with F, T with R, O with O, R with N, and M with T. So you've got 5 letters per each word, and there's almost always 2 words. So everything that this author does is very precise, and it's working. It makes a great book and a great series. Of course, this is an adult book, so if you have teenagers or young adults, you might want to read through this first. It's not every book that there's going to be some sort of content, but at the same time, you probably should pick it up if you want to censor what your kids are reading. This first book, I will say, he jumped in really heavy with some of the sex, but that's also because he wanted to set the pace that this is an adult book and an adult series. So, just an FYI about that. There's cursing, there's going to be innuendos, there's going to be descriptions, but it's not really bad, and they're just a few sections, but really if that's the only thing that you have an issue with these books, this is such a great series to read. I can't even begin to tell you how I would suggest it. As I said, he's adding new books every day, so you always have something to read.